It's the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast with your hosts, the Wolf and Action Jackson, who are keeping rock alive by talking classic rock, hard rock, progressive rock, heavy metal, 80s music, early MTV, UK vs. US chart success, and much more. This is the home of classic album and live concert reviews and your place for interviews with artists and legends. You're rocking with the Wolf. Out there, rock and rollers. Welcome to episode number 266 of the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast. Brought to you by me, your host, Mac B. the Wolf, and I will be joined, as I always am, by my partner in crime from the East Coast of the United States of America, Mr. Gary Action Jackson. This is going to be our last show of 2026. We really just want to take an opportunity to thank everybody who's listened this year, everybody who supported us, everybody who's downloaded the show or put out a review, sent us an email, or interacted with us on socials to let us know that you like the show and what you'd like to see more of on the show. The albums, the artists, the concerts, the guests that you want to hear us have on the program. We love the feedback. We love to hear from you about your rock and roll dreams and your rock and roll life and how this music we all loved shaped our world and the way we walk through it. And so again, thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it. We got some great stuff coming for 2026 that we can't wait to do for you. But first, we got to wrap up 2025. Hopefully you caught last week, part 1, where we talked about every album that we reviewed and all the authors and podcasters that we welcomed on the show. Big-time classic albums that we love, like Physical Graffiti, and some amazing guests, some of whom we're going to have back in 2026. But this week, we break down the live reviews that we did, the concerts that we saw, some together, some just me solo, 7 different ones, plus a review of Live Aid that we dedicated 3 shows to. I know that sounds excessive, but it was a huge event for us, and we wanted to break down its origins, how it came to be, how it was set up in Philly and London, and then we wanted to review all the acts that came on and maybe what those mean to those acts now as part of their legacy, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that one was called. And then we had a third one where we interviewed Alan Hunter and longtime Eric Clapton guitar tech Lee Dixon, who were there that day in Philly and told us some amazing stories. So we broke that all down, and we talk a little bit more about that here along with the 7 live shows. And then is also our tradition, we review all the artists and legends that we had on the show this year. Not quite as many as last year, but some handpicked by us that we're really happy to have on. And I think we may have already lined up as many next year as we did this year. So great stuff to come in 2026. But I thought as we look back on 2025, it would be good to do an in memoriam. We lost some very, very big figures in the world of rock and roll this year, including guests of the show, Terry Reid, and legends who we've talked about on the show like Ace Frehley of Kiss and Ozzy Osbourne and Steve the Colonel Cropper and Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys. A lot to go over, so we do our in memoriam, and then we get into the live shows and then the amazing artists we've had on. But before we get to that, we do have a little bit of business we need to talk about. As usual, we love to mention we're proud members of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a family of over 100 different shows. You can learn more at pantheonpodcast.com or follow on socials at Pantheon Pods. And we have to thank our incredible intergalactic worldwide sponsor, rarevinyl.com, who've been working with us since we were very early in the game, and we've really built our relationship. We've turned on a lot of record collectors to Rare Vinyl, and Rare Vinyl has brought us a lot of listeners and a little bit of support financially, which is awesome. So we thank you. They're an amazing place for record collectors to go with all the originals they have, all the imports they have, hundreds of thousands of things in stock. And they give us a code UGLY. So when you check out, you can save 10% off your entire order. So if you buy 15 things, you get 10% off all 15 things. If you really want to go find original stuff and rare and hard to find stuff in good condition, go to rarevinyl.com and use that code UGLY, and you can save a big fat 10%. So again, please, for all you record collectors, go to rarevinyl.com, use the code UGLY, save 10%. Your record collection will thank you. Now back to 2025. I know I can get a little long-winded on these opening remarks before we get to me and Jackson, but after 5 years of doing this, we really are thankful for everybody who interacts with the show. We're thankful for the guests that we get to have on. And Jackson and I are thankful for the time we get to have together to talk about this music that we truly love. So with a little less ado, here's 2025. It's our In Memoriam, our live shows, and the artists we welcome in 2025 here on The Wolf. All right, so this is part 2 of 2025 in review, where we go over the concerts and the artists and legends that we had on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into that fun stuff, though, in the past, we have done an in memoriam thing where we kind of talk about some of the big names that we'd lost this year. And we've done that before. We haven't always done it because sometimes we obviously at this point with the people who we love, we're losing people every year. Some years are bigger than others. And sometimes it's like, that's a downer. I'm not going to bring that up. But we kind of got hit pretty hard this year with some major players and even people we've had on the show. And so there are a lot, and I'll run through a bunch of names, but I want to concentrate on like the big 4 or 5 names that we lost this year.
Okay.
And then maybe run through some of the other names. But I mean, I feel like obviously the biggest ones, especially for us, as far as impact on the world and influence on us and people who we listen to and people who we love, were 2. And that's Ozzy Osbourne and Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, and I'd said this before, I've said it on our show, it's incredible that none of the original members of Black Sabbath had died until this year. It's kind of just unbelievable the amount of drugs and alcohol. And then Ozzy, he could get hurt. He could kill himself walking across the street. We saw on his show that he wrecked himself in an ATV, and that really messed him up. And, and then, of course, Ace, God bless him, died falling down the stairs, basically. And that doesn't, pardon the pun, shock me. I mean, again, both of those guys, it's not, oh my God, do you believe they died? It's more like, oh my God, do you believe they made it this far?
Right. That was my thought with both of them. And the thing that stunk with both those guys is that it wasn't like some long illness. Mm-hmm. Like, even though you said it's a miracle that they made it this far, and they both died relatively quickly. Yeah, in fact, I think I got a text from somebody. I was getting gas, and they're like, "Oh, sad day, huh?" I'm like, what do you mean sad day? What's happened? Oh, Ozzy Osbourne died. That's too bad. There was a story from the that show, the Back to the Beginning show, mm-hmm. with Jake E. Lee was talking about. He's sitting there. Luckily for everybody, he made it to the show and got to be part of it.
Right.
But I guess he was in the VIP, but not the super VIP area. Uh-huh. And Sharon tracked him down and said, "Hey, here's a pass to where Ozzy's going to be. He really wants to talk to you." And I guess Jake was like, yeah, okay. And she said, "You really need to talk to him. He doesn't have much time left." And he went, "Oh." So the fact that he made it through that show is incredible too, because apparently at that point in time he was very, very ill. And yeah, it was sad to see him go, but yeah, just somebody who was almost inhuman as far as the amount of punishment he could put himself through. And then with Ace, he literally wrote a song, "Shock Me," about being shocked to unconsciousness, getting up. "Do you need to go to the hospital?" "Nah, we'll just go ahead and play the show. Don't worry about it." All right. And then there was the famous DeLorean accident where he was not loaded. He was
beyond loaded.
Beyond loaded.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. And the damage was done. I mean, I was glad that Ozzy had stopped doing drugs. I was glad when Ace finally decided to get clean and sober. Mm-hmm. But the damage was done. I mean, you could say when they talked that there was just something a little off now, and maybe a lot off when it came to Ace. But the thing is, they kind of did go out doing what they loved. I mean, they did the Back to Beginning thing. It was billed as Ozzy's last thing. Mm-hmm. He had tried to tour before COVID. They had to cancel all of it because he just wasn't in good enough shape. Then, of course, COVID came and they had to cancel all that. And then afterwards, he couldn't really tour. And so they're like, okay, well, how are we going to... A, how are we going to say goodbye? B, how is Sharon going to milk more money out of Ozzy before he dies? It's not like Kelly's making that big Ozzy money. So, yeah, we kind of wanted that. When they put that together, it was a big deal. And they had a pay-per-view, and we considered doing it. We said, no, plenty of people are going to do that. Let's, we don't need to do that. So, and then it was just a few weeks afterwards that he passed away. So it was kind of sudden after that, but at least he got that send-off. And then with Ace, I at least got to take the Wolf Cub to see him a few months before he died. Mm-hmm. He had played an amphitheater, a small one here in town, and I'd seen Ace and Kiss, 4 times or something like that, maybe more. I'd seen him solo several times. I'd seen him fairly recently, but as the Shout It Out Loudcast guys like to say, I'm a confirmed member of the Ace Cult. I just love the guy. I know he's an idiot. I know he really is a space cadet. Still love him. Still love his guitars. Still love what he did in the 70s. I like his character. And yeah, he says crazy stuff, but that's what makes him Ace.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got to see him play in the station in Fern Park all those years ago in a real small club. I got to see him play in Kiss, and when they got back together, so that's cool. Speaking of Shout It Out Loud, there was a clip, they were talking to Steve Vai, and he was saying something about how, like, yeah, like, I love him. Like, no, he's not a shredder, but just the way that he plays, the attitude, the tone, he is a rock star. And you're right. He did say crazy things. I know he drove the rest of the guys in the band. Well, maybe not Peter, but Gene and Paul up the wall. But he was his own dude. He was. I don't think he was playing. I think he truly may have been from outer space.
He may have been
form or another. The thing that's really sad though is that the photos from that Kennedy Center deal.
Yeah.
To see the three of them back together, and then Ace's daughter was there to pay tribute to him. Yeah. But to just know that he missed that by just a couple of months, that's sad that they could have gotten back together at least one more time with all of the bad blood maybe behind them. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's sad. And of course, we will never get to interview Ace now, which sucks. But the Shout It Out Loud guys did, Loudcast guys, so I'm glad that they did.
Yeah.
But, our buddy Paul Stevenson of Vintage Rock Pod ended up interviewing him. And he didn't know him very well. He didn't know his story. And so he asked me if I wanted to ask a question. And so I sent him one. And sure enough, he said, my friend Mac from the Ugly American Werewolf in London, he wants to ask you this. And of course, Ace is not really, he's going to listen to part of the question. He's just going to say and answer whatever he wanted to at the time.
In terms of the record itself, as we said, February 23rd is when it's out. You can pre-order it now, get online and do the usual stuff. You can get various copies and things like that. But in terms of the release date itself, Mac the Wolf was in touch and he said it's almost 50 years to the day since the release of the original Kiss record, the debut Kiss record. So was that planned or was it coincidence? And looking back now, what's your feelings on that debut Kiss record?
I don't pay attention to dates very much, but I am into numerology. I have simian palms. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
Okay, if you look at my palms, you see I have the line goes straight across.
Yep.
On both palms. If you look at your palms, there's probably two lines that split.
Yep.
90% of the people on the planet have those kind of lines on their hands, but this is a trait that not that many people have. It's supposed to mean it mean you have maybe a little higher intelligence or you're more of a special person. I've always felt I was special. I have 163 IQ, and I never took a guitar lesson. But what helped me with music was I grew up in a musical family. My mother and father played piano. My brother and sister played piano and acoustic guitar. And I was the youngest of three children. So I just kind of got it by osmosis.
Fantastic. And in terms then, just to answer Mac's question, what's your thoughts looking back 50 years on that debut Kiss record then?
Well, it's been a roller coaster ride, I joined Kiss in 72, 73, left in 82. Then I rejoined for the reunion tour in 95, 96. And then I quit again in around 2001, 2002. What the success of my solo album in 1978, after I got back together with the guys, I kind of realized I kind of saw the writing on the wall that I realized that I was more creative away from Paul, Gene, and Peter than I was when I was around them. We were great live and four guys from four different backgrounds, but magic happened when we performed. Eventually we fell into those pitfalls and traps. Once we became famous, I overindulged in drugs and alcohols, and so did Peter. For some reason, Paul and Gene, I don't think they ever did cocaine, but I remember, when I was going to Studio 54, everybody did cocaine. But It seems over the last 10, 15 years, there's been a trend in Hollywood and in the music business to get sober. And I've been sober now 17 years, and it's made the world a difference for me. I'm just able to concentrate more. I'm more creative. I'm healthier. I dropped 45 pounds in the last year and a half, and I feel great. My fiance is also a personal trainer. Besides being a school teacher and a painter, she pretty much stopped teaching school, and she's been concentrating on her paintings. And she helps me work out. Right now she's in the gym. I'm home alone. The kids are in school, and I'm loving it. This is kind of like my man cave.
But technically, we did get to ask Ace a question, on a podcast, not our podcast, but we got to ask Ace a question, and it was cool of Paul to do that for us. I appreciate that, Paul, so much. And so I still have the poster, I still have the stuff that we had on our walls with Ace in college. I still got that stuff. So he really was a legend. And yeah, he's a wackadoo, and he wasted way more money than he ever put away. He seemed to have bad taste in women and just, made a lot of bad decisions. But that's what rock stars do, I guess. And he never really grew out of it. And his image, him playing in Kiss, those solos with the smoking guitar and the marquee light up guitar and the ones that fire rockets out and stuff, so iconic. No one else has ever done anything like it. And he inspired so many kids to pick up the guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, more than Eric Clapton, more than Jimi Hendrix, because you see Jimi Hendrix and like, well, nobody can do that. But then you see Ace, and it was like, oh man, that is so cool. I would die to do that, So their impact, both Ozzy and Ace, I don't know if it can really be quantified.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many people that we grew up loving that said, yeah, the reason I play guitar is because of, I got Kiss Alive. I saw them. And it was just over. I had to play the guitar like that. And then, you watch that back to the beginning with all of those people who, there are some people that you understand, like the Pantera guys. Yeah, I get it that you would love Black Sabbath. But, some of these the people that came out of the woodwork that just say, the reason that I do this is because of Ozzy Osbourne, because of Black Sabbath. You see how far-reaching their influence is. That was really cool for them to pay tribute to it. And the crowd that they got was nuts.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah.
So, definitely a big loss. Kudos to Sharon for plucking him out of basically the sewer.
Yeah.
When he was all alone and just directionless.
Yeah.
Putting
going to drink himself to death.
Yeah,
going to OD. No doubt about it.
And then, introducing him to Randy Rhoads, putting those great albums together. I think Diary of a Madman is coming up. We'll celebrate a anniversary in 2026. Looking forward to maybe doing that one. Yeah, sad for both of them. You knew this day was going to come. You just didn't know it would be the two of them that quick together. And I mean, you're right. As we keep going on this journey, we're going to have to do this more and more.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. And also in the summer, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys died. And another, and he certainly had his issues, mental health and physical health issues, but he was just kind of trucking along. And, he's somebody who really did change the world. And he had a huge influence on the Beatles, who had a huge influence on everybody. Pet Sounds it's a remarkable album. It changed the world, and then it changed what the Beatles did and all that. And yeah, he was a little bit of a wackadoo and kind of a shut-in for a long time, but he had mental health problems, and a lot of us do, so I don't want to, make fun of him or minimize that, but that changed the course of his life in a big way, and in some ways it's amazing that he had lived so long, 82, he lived to be. So, it is huge in the pantheon of rock stars and songwriters, huge. By the way, buddy,
yes,
I want to give a shout out to Good Pods. Good Pods is a great place to listen to podcasts and learn what your friends are doing and get good recommendations and stuff like that. I found out that we are currently number 1 all time in the rock category on Good Pods.
Well, thank you.
Yes, number 1 all time. Thank you, Good Pods. number one all-time indie rock also, which if, we're on the main rock chart, you'll also be number one on the indie rock chart. But we're actually number two on the indie songwriting chart of all time on Good Pods. So people recognize that we have songwriters on and talk about the importance of songwriting. So thank you, Good Pods. And yeah, if you haven't used Good Pods, give them a shout. You check them out. But yeah, Brian Wilson did change the world. But now the sad one to me, Jackson, is, I mean, we do this show because we love music. We kind of started out just doing album reviews and maybe some top 10 list discussions we had. But then obviously as we grow the show, make some inroads, we start to get to interview people. And a couple years back, we got to interview Terry Reid. And Terry Reid died this year. Terry Super Lungs Reid, as he was known by his friends and family. Unfortunately, he's probably best known for not being in Deep Purple and not being in Black and in Led Zeppelin. But he was so much more than that. I mean, he opened for the Rolling Stones when he was a teenager. He played Madison Square Garden as a teenager and, had a good career. I mean, look, if you ask Robert Plant who the greatest singer was, he wouldn't say himself. He would say Terry Reid before he would say anything about himself. People in the business, especially the English artists, knew Terry Reid well. Not necessarily a household name in America, not for his solo work, although he did some great stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, if you're asked, hey, do you want to come try to be part of this band Led Zeppelin, who would become the biggest band in the history of the world, and you say no, but you should check out my buddy Robert Plant. I'm sorry, that's going to be part of your legacy. It shouldn't be the only part of it, but yeah, come on, you can't get away from that.
Yeah, super cool guy. Really enjoyed talking to him. Just kind of chill. I remember he was sitting there tuning a guitar while we were talking to him, just kind of casually mentioning, like you said, yeah, he toured with the Rolling Stones at 15 or whatever that was. Yeah. Just a young person who was incredibly talented. Had a bigger career than I realized. I mean, I had heard the name before, and I knew that story about Led Zeppelin, even though, I mean, really, it wasn't. He was a big time solo artist at that point in time.
Well, that's right.
That's why he's like, I'm not giving up a sure thing to join some band.
Right.
So it wasn't like he was. It wasn't like he had made the decision to do something else when he didn't have something in his hand already.
That's right.
So. And yeah, just an incredible singer, cool guy. Glad that we got to talk to him. And yeah, sad to see that he passed because he was the first guy that we got to know that has passed on.
That's right. First guy who's been on the show who's lost his life, died of cancer in August of this year. He's 75 years old. So that's the thing. He's 75. You said, well, that's old. I'm like, yeah, but Mick and Keith are in their 80s. Clapton's in their 80s. I mean, he was 5 or 6 years younger than those guys, right? Yeah. So in 63, when Clapton's 18, he's like 13 or 12 or something like that. And then when he opened for the Stones, maybe he was 17 or 16, something like that. Crazy, And then a couple other big ones, I would say. I mean, just this week, basically, as we're recording this, Steve the Colonel Cropper died from Booker T and the MGs and the Blues Brothers, and did all that work at Stax all those many years. And
yeah, definitely a dude that I did not give enough credit to. I mean, I knew him from obviously the Blues Brothers, and I kind of like, oh yeah, he was in Booker T, but he wrote a lot of stuff, including Sitting on the Dock of the Bay with Otis Redding and The Midnight Hour.
Yeah.
And he played on a lot of big records. And it was always strange to me, or not strange, but something always caught me when they did Soul Man. He did the original with Sam and Dave. To hear him play that, I'm like, it always struck me that, well, that sounds really good. Like, that sounds dead on, like it was on the record. That's because he played it originally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He is the guy on the record.
Yeah, just that sense of pride that he did that. And then, Belushi and Aykroyd being idiots with the dancing.
Yeah. And and the cocaine. Yeah. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. But he made it to 84, and it was good to see. I mean, like, he had really given back. Like, our friend Britt Lightning from Vixen posted some pictures like, yeah, I got to go to this songwriting thing with him, and he talked to us all about it. I'm like, well, that's cool. I mean, at least he was, kind of giving back to the next generation and the next generation after that, So, I mean, obviously he was beloved, but he was giving it back. And then, one I had to bring up was Mick Ralphs of Bad Company, because Bad Company finally is getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, they just did not that long ago, and he didn't make it. Kind of like Ace not making it to the Kennedy Center honors. Mick Ralphs did not make it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I think he definitely deserved. I think that he partied longer than he probably should have, and it eventually caught up with him.
Yeah.
But, obviously we've done a couple of Bad Company reviews on here, and we'd advocated for Paul Rogers being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we figured that Bad Company would be the best vehicle to do that.
Yeah.
And that is the way it worked out. But there were a lot of people we lost this year. I mean, for our Grateful Dead fans out there, Donna Jean Godshaw died in Nashville this year at 78. When she and Keith Godshaw were in the band, they definitely added something a little different in that run that they were on in the 70s. And when you listen to those old bootlegs, you can hear her voice on there, and you can hear, that she added something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so maybe we can talk to our friend Stu Allen about that at some point. But I mean, honestly, if I could go through this list, it would take me a really long time.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is way longer than I thought it was. Yikes.
Like Sam Moore from Sam and Dave died. I'm like, well, geez, that's, he was big. Garth Hudson of the band died. As far as I know, I think he was the last surviving member of the band. I think everyone else has predeceased him.
Yeah.
Rick Danko's dead. Levon's dead. Robbie's dead.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, I think he was 87, so he made it a good long way. And it's just funny that if you ever watch The Last Waltz, to get him into the band, he had to be the music teacher. He couldn't tell his parents after they had spent so much time and money making him, a classical musician, that he was just going to be in this rock band. And I just think that's funny. And he was at Woodstock. He died at Woodstock, where the band had done music from Big Pink and lived in that house all those many years ago. But like Marianne Faithfull died, who's not only just Mick Jagger's girlfriend in the 60s, but she had a big career. She was on a Metallica record. And
yeah, that was a funny story with Lars telling about how he and James went to England to record with her. And then they're like, he's like, we're bringing the tapes back through TSA or whatever they had back then. Like, is this going to get erased? Like, this is all we have. I don't understand. I mean, it's a magnetic tape. I don't know how this is going to work.
Yeah.
So just that panic. Yeah, this list is long. There's somebody that we never talked about that just died, Raul Malo from the Mavericks. It looks like he died on the 8th, and I met him one time, and he was a really cool dude. So
oh yeah,
he's 60. I'm sorry that he's gone.
60's not that old. Yeah,
no, it's really not. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean it's not even 10 years away for us. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, David Johansen,
Buster,
also known as Buster Poindexter of the New York Dolls. I mean, he did some damage to himself. Doesn't mean he needed to go. I mean, Roberta Flack died. Herb Green was a great photographer who we lost this year. Troy Seals of Seals and Crofts and other things. I was watching something last night and Summer Breeze came on, and it was part of the opening credits of something. I was watching some show and Summer Breeze came on, and
you think about young Mitch on the blanket.
Absolutely. I'm like, damn it, he's dead. Now he was 86 or something like that. So it's like, okay, well, that's not crazy that you pass at 86, but still it's sad. Les Binks, an old drummer from Judas Priest, died at 75. That's crazy. Jesse Colin Young of the Youngbloods, going back a little bit there, but yeah, everyone knows some of those Youngblood songs. I mean, every time I look at another name, I'm like, oh my God, they died this year.
Yeah.
It was a tough year for rock music and pop music and the stuff that not only that we grew up on, but it built the foundation of rock and roll that we love. Clem Burke of Blondie.
Yeah. You can't forget Sly Stone too.
Oh, well, Sly Stone died right before Brian Wilson. I think that hurt his in memoriam a little bit, just because it was like a day or two before. And then as big as Sly was, especially in the black community, Brian Wilson's imprint was probably bigger. It's kind of like when Eric Carr of Kiss died of cancer, like a day after Freddie Mercury died of AIDS. So like it didn't get any headlines, but we just did a Queen album that's produced by Roy Thomas Baker, and he died in April. It's just funny who all is on this list, like Wink Martindale. I'm like, well, I don't know how
he was like 178, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did the dating game or whatever. But is that really, does that make him a musician? One that was interesting to, and your boy Billy Duffy must have been heartbroken when Mike Peters died.
He was, yeah. Absolutely. I think that really ripped him up. That sucked a lot because he had cancer a couple of years ago, and it seemed like he had made a recovery.
He beat it,
and
yeah.
then, and then he passed. Yeah, I know. Billy posted a couple things. I know he and Mike were really close. They did a couple things together.
That's
color.
right.
They did a couple of color sound records, and yeah, that's got to be tough when it's somebody who's not only a contemporary but really a good friend of yours.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, and he's only 66, and you know, he's in the Alarm for those of you who don't recognize the name. You know, Rick Derringer died. Every time I flip through here, I'll see another one, a name that means something to me. Actually, there's a Sly Stone documentary. It may be on Netflix that I watched recently. He was an interesting guy, incredibly talented.
Yes.
I mean, really amazingly talented, but also once the drugs hit, you know, it really started to go down fast. And look, there's more, and I don't want to, you know, not salute anybody, but there's so many to go through. Are there any more like that stand out to you that you want to make sure we talk about?
I think we've got
the biggest ones, I think. And stuff
I think
that was
so.
The biggest to us, but rough year for that. And I got a feeling, Jackson, it's not going to be Bobby Whitlock of Derek and the Dominoes died. I think that means that Eric's the only one who's still alive. I think someone might want to check me on that, but I think that's the case. Look, we can keep going and going. Oh, I know who died. It was Chris Dreja of the Yardbirds. I think he was 79.
Okay.
Which means guest of the show, Jim McCarty, Eric Clapton, and Jimmy Page are the only surviving members of the Yardbirds now. So, I mean, tough year.
Yeah.
Tough year. Making me sad.
But I think the best thing that we can do is remember them and then just go back to and listen to what they gave to the world. Like I didn't tell you I'm not a huge Sly and the Family Stone. I don't want to say fan, but I just don't really know that much about them. But maybe now's a good time to kind of get in there and figure out why he was so revered. Listen to some of that music and get out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. And
I
almost forgot John Lodge of the Moody Blues. I mean, I went to see Yes. We're about to talk about that, but they did a tribute to John during the show because he was the father-in-law of their lead singer, John Davison, you know, so must have been tough for him to continue on doing that. I mean, he couldn't leave. He couldn't just say...
Didn't you see him like right about that time, or was that earlier?
Oh, yeah, no, it was a couple weeks after.
Oh, okay.
It was a couple of weeks afterward.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing. They were just on this tour and it was going really well. And you can't just stop in the middle of the tour. So he couldn't go home to see his wife and help her bury her dad. You know, he's in the middle of a damn tour. Also, there's a guy, Manny of the Stone Roses.
Yeah, I see that in Primal Scream.
Gary Moonfield. He was
63.
He was big to the guys in Oasis. They did a tribute to him while they were on the middle of their tour. I didn't know him well, but he was big to them. They honored him before they sang Live Forever, which has got to bring the house down to those who knew him. Jimmy Cliff died right around Thanksgiving, and you know, he was in movies and he helped push reggae around the world. So look, we got to get off this because it's a bummer. But to all those we lost, hey, rest in peace. Thank you for everything that you gave us, and we will honor your legacy as best we can here on the show and in our personal lives.
I'm George Capitanellis. This is my good brother, Terry Reed.
Right.
And you're listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
In London, right.
And they go into the artists and the legends along with the concerts that we did here. Now, it kind of flip-flopped from last year. We had very few concerts that we went to or that we reviewed on the show, but we had a lot of artists on the show. And this year, just because my schedule got crazy and I had a few, you know, life interrupts our rock and roll dreams sometimes, and we have to deal with real life stuff instead of talking about rock music all the time. So I'll admit that it was my fault maybe that we didn't get as many, not maybe, it was my fault that we didn't get as many, you know, rockers on this year. However, I think the quality of who we got on was solid and people who we really wanted to have on. And then the shows we did were a lot of fun. And so let's start to hop through those now.
All right.
And it's tough, guys, when you live in London, where everybody goes, and then you move to Amsterdam, where a ton of people go, and then you move to Louisville, Kentucky in the Midwest, where almost nobody goes. And because they'd rather go to Nashville, which is 3 hours away, or Cincinnati, which is an hour and 45 minutes away, or Indy, which is 2 hours away, or Columbus, which is 3 hours, or Chicago, which is 5. So we have to travel.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm in the same boat. It's Tampa, it's Miami,
it's Atlanta.
It's Atlanta. Yeah. Oh, come on.
No, because I used to live in Jacksonville too, so I know.
Yeah.
And when you're in your 20s or your 30s, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll drive 2 hours and just drive home at 1 o'clock in the morning, no problem. And now you're like, no, it's downtown and I'm leaving before the last song so I can get home, so I don't get stuck in the parking lot. But a great live show is still one of the best experiences in life, if you ask me. It's why we created our first concert memory show, to kind of capture those moments in life where you see that big live show. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so much better than sitting at home listening to the record. This is a special moment in your life. And that's what live music does. And for us, it's rock and roll. So even though I had gone back to Amsterdam to see Metallica on the first 2 nights of their No Repeat Weekend tour, when I knew they were coming to Nashville, I said, well, this is the opportunity for Jackson to see this. And I thought you needed to see it.
And you were right, because it was over the top, and it had been a fair amount of time, a couple of years since I'd seen a stadium show.
Right.
Outdoor stadium show. And you think, or I would think, is it that big of a deal? Oh, my dear sweet Lord. When I saw that setup with those towers that had to be 7 or 8 stories tall, 4 or 5 of them that they had out there, it was just, it just...
8. They had 8 of them. It's unbelievable how big it was. Yes.
With the video and the speakers on them, it's just a whole nother level. Like, you can go to even an arena show. There's nothing like a stadium show that it was over the top.
It's fantastic. It's incredible. I'm just glad that we got to see them together, because you and I were together when we saw our first Metallica show in 1993 in Naples. That wasn't a 10,000 seater, I don't think.
No. That was so small they had to put the stage up against one of the walls. They couldn't even do the round thing.
That's right.
Yeah, I just remember getting in there thinking, wait, why are we here? This they shouldn't be playing a place that's this small. I guess they must have booked it early or something before they really blew up. I don't know.
Yeah, it was the end of the Black Tour, basically.
Right.
And yeah, it was something else. But this was amazing. And we had 2 pretty different nights. I mean, the first night, we're down in the bowl there. It was Pantera with Zach and Charlie, which is kind of amazing. And we'd never seen Pantera. So it was like, great, that's a cool thing to see. Suicidal Tendencies with Robert Trujillo's son. Like that, 2 bands I'd never seen. Get to see them. That's cool. They did a good set. But then the next time, 2 days later, we got the upgrade of all upgrades, which on that night was awesome.
Yes.
Because there was a 40-minute lightning delay and it was raining.
Yeah.
And we're in the owner's suite on the 50-yard line.
I felt bad for the people that had to go inside because, they were wet already. Now there's lightning. You have to go inside. Well, I guess I'll have another drink at the bar. Because,
Can I have some more of that chicken wings that you got there? Maybe a couple cookies. That'd be great. Yes, thank you.
Well, I sit in my Tennessee Titans branded luxury chair, looking out over the crowd. Yeah, that was over the top.
The staff were amazing to us. They're so nice to us.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't know how much money Metallica made that night, but they ran out of merch both nights. They couldn't make enough merch to sell. Tens of millions of dollars they must make, dude.
Yeah, because they probably had, 15, maybe 20 different T-shirts that you could buy. They had, the posters sold out before I got a chance to get the second one. Oh, you dirty. And then, the amount of money, because they had probably at least 5 merch stations inside in the lower deck that we saw. There was one out. There was at least 1 or 2 upstairs.
Yep.
They had that truck out in front of the stadium.
For the people who couldn't even get in. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was the only one either. And everything was sold out.
Yep. And if you go to Polestar right now, they just did a thing of the biggest concert touring acts of the millennium from 2001 through this year. And it shows total ticket sales in those 25 years, average tickets sold per show, total gross, average gross, total number of shows and all that. And Metallica is 8th on there with 15.5 million tickets sold and a gross of about $1.5 billion, averaging over $2.5 million a night. But that's for the last 25 years. On this tour, it's higher than that. And it's been going on for 3 years. And then the next band, and Iron Maiden, who was the next band we saw, yeah, they're number 19 on that list. So what pisses me off is that rock bands are all over this. I mean, Taylor Swift wasn't even number 1. They were 5th behind Coldplay, U2, Ed Sheeran, and Dave Matthews Band, and just ahead of Bruce Springsteen and Metallica. So the industry won't invest in rock bands anymore. However, if you're a legacy rock band, you can make a ton of money on the road. So I'm like, when's the next generation? Who's going to do this in 20 years when there are no more Stones and there is no more Bruce and there's no more U2 and there's no more Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, no Eagles, no Roger Waters, no Billy Joel, no Elton John, all those people on the list. Who's going to do it? And they're not. And those rappers aren't going to do it because they all die. On that list, yeah, all our people are dying in their 70s and 80s. The rappers are dying in their 20s or 30s. So I and that's most of the business now. So I don't know what's going to happen to live shows. Just go away, I guess.
Or is it going to be like just everybody's a tribute band now to these people? I don't know, because it wasn't the Bruce Springsteen deal, like everything sold out in like a tenth of a second, and then so the ticket that was expensive already is now 3 times as much because you have to buy it on the resale market. Or and then don't get me started on the dynamic pricing. That's
no, that's not for this. That's not for this.
Yeah.
But we have to do another shout out to our friend and listener Dex, who put us up in his home in Nashville, saved us a ton of money. Wonderful to meet his sweet family, who's so good to us. Made it relatively easy for us to get around in Nashville, whose traffic is a nightmare and getting worse, and they can't fix it. And I don't know. We always talk about, well, we could move to Nashville, and that would be cool because it'd be good for my wife's business, and it'd be good for me because they have a lot more shows. And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to take an hour to get the girl to school and get back. I don't. There's no way to fix it. It's worse than Atlanta, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's and then you say that, and I'm like, I've been to Atlanta a ton of times. There's no way. Oh boy, yeah. Wow, you are really giving them a run for their money.
I'm telling you.
And the thing that stinks is that like it's just the way of life. Like, man, it's just going to take you an hour and a half to go 10 miles. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Might as well be living in New York.
Right.
It's crazy. But thank you, Dex. We appreciate you, man. Thank you to your family. Maybe we'll find a way to see you next year. And as much as I enjoyed that, you know that I love Iron Maiden, man. I think they've finally secured the number 5 spot on my all-time top 5 bands over Pink Floyd, over anybody else who may have used to be there. They just deliver on a level consistently and over the top like no other band. And it's getting better. It's getting bigger and better as they get older. That just doesn't happen.
And what I love is that even the Metallica fans, like you may have like casual people that show up to these shows. Every single person that I can see that goes to these Iron Maiden shows is a mad dog, rabid fan.
Yep.
It's like a different world you get to see. Like, well, hey, wait a minute, who are all these people? Everybody has the same shirt on. Everybody is psyched to be here. Everybody has come from different countries even to see this show.
That's right.
It's really cool. And like you said, I got to see him the first time on the 2023 tour, and I said, okay, well, it can't get any better than that. Oh, yes, it can.
Yes, it can.
With upgrades to the show itself that they wouldn't really tell us about at the beginning. And just to now I've kind of got more of a comfort level to what's going on, and I can really pay attention to what's happening in the show.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I it wasn't that I was on the fence about Simon. I mean, I knew that, he had played in British Lion. Steve knew him, so okay, cool. But like, ooh, how is this going to go with a new guy playing drums? Yeah. I think he did it. He did a fantastic job fitting into the band. Did he replace Nico? Of course not. I mean, you can't. Just not only a great drummer, but a character too.
Personality alone, yeah. No doubt. Yeah, and it was we'd never been to Sweden before. We wanted to go see Iron Maiden. Last tour, we went and saw them in Amsterdam and then took the train to Antwerp a couple days later and got to hang out with some of the band in the bar.
Yes.
Most hungover I've been in the last 10 years, but it was worth it. And so this year I'm like, okay, I wanted to take my daughter to see Iron Maiden, kind of like I wanted to take her to see Ace so that she had a chance to see him, before eventually he passed. Didn't know it was going to happen so quickly. So I'm like, okay, you're old enough to go. I don't want to take you in America because Americans don't know how to behave. And
Unfortunately,
it's better in Europe anyway. They're more into it. There's more women at the shows. They're more respectful of each other. It's just better. And so we go. I've never been to Stockholm. They're doing 2 shows in Stockholm, so that way you and I can go the first day, get the lay of the land. We can see how it goes, and then the next day we'll know exactly what to do and help her. And she was blown away, and she loved Lizzie Hale too. She's like, wow, she's super cool. I'm like, yes, she is. So.
Well, I love the fact that the whole time you were like, the lead up to it. Well, I don't know if she's going to make it to the whole thing, and we might have to leave early. And not 1 second did we leave early. She was in for the whole thing.
Yep.
She could not have been more excited. There wasn't there wasn't 1 second. Oh, I'm bored. Can we go home? Nope. She was hanging on every single deal. I think for her, seeing the band play was awesome. But that video board in the back added so much to it.
It's unbelievable.
It was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was so cool. And so they are coming next year. We are going to go see them. We'll see what happens about the Louder Than Life Festival here in the Ville that they're going to play. I don't know if they're going to bring the whole stage or not.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. But I've already got people around town ask me, Mac, are you going to go? We all going to go together? I'm like, all right, just pump your brakes. I mean, obviously I'm going to go because it's down there, but if I have VIP parking, which I should, that makes the difference. I don't want to get stuck there with all those people. You got to be able to get out when you want to get out, but obviously no regrets. Yeah. I mean, she had to lie because I bought the tickets in September, and then 10 days before the show in June, they're like, okay, the Swedish authorities are worried about young people's hearing. So if you're under 13, you can't come. And I'm like, yeah, bullshit. I mean, I bought these tickets almost a year ago. I bought plane tickets across the water. I booked hotels, blah, blah, blah. She's going. So I'm like, just if they ask, you say you're 13.
Which they did.
And she didn't hesitate.
Nope. Not 100% team player. But not only did she have earplugs, she was making sure that everyone else, including me, had some and was putting them in. And so, yes, very safe, very respectful. She knew she understood her assignment.
Yeah. And then afterwards, went with us to McDonald's to get that late night snack.
That was awesome.
And then she's hopping around the streets. She's doing parkour, jumping off stuff. She was so excited. This is 11:30 at night. And I'm like, Jesus.
Well, it also helps that the sun's really not down either.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was 11:30, but it wasn't dark. But yeah, great show, and we will see them in 2026. Now, before we get to more live shows that we went over, we did do a big Legacy live show review. In fact, we did 3 episodes on Live Aid as it turned 40, because Live Aid was such a monumental global cultural event when it happened. And in 1985, in July, I guess it was the 17th of 1985.
I believe so.
The thing is, we always put out our shows on Thursday. And because we ended up doing 3 shows on it, I decided to put the 3rd one on the actual anniversary, even though that was like a Sunday or a Monday or something like that. So yeah, part 1 was July 3rd. Oh, it was July 13th. Sorry, July 13th, 1985 in Philadelphia and in London. And the second part was July 10th, which actually, Jackson, you get your Spotify rap thing at the end of the year. Live Aid Part 2, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, was our number 1 listened to show of the year on Spotify, which shocked me. It wasn't any of the interviews we did. Part 3, which came out 3 days later and had Alan Hunter and Eric Clapton guitar tech Lee Dixon telling stories of what it was like to be there. That didn't do as well as our Part 2 on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Interesting.
It shocked me, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, I'm glad that You value my opinion on what I thought was good, bad, and ugly, but okay.
Yeah, part one was kind of like the creation, what happened. Part two was us kind of walking through the stuff, the performances and stuff we liked, although we had some of that at the end of part one. And then, yeah, part three was Alan Hunter, original MTV VJ, talked to us about that day. And of course, our buddy Lee Dixon, who has been on the show, like 4 times, I guess now, something like that, talking about where you could find the fun and some of the interesting parts of that. But also cool technical stuff, how he went the night before to make sure they had the right amp for Eric, and making sure day of, which they had the right amp for Eric. Said, well, this ain't it. Where is it? Well, the other bands use it. Well, get it for Eric, you dumbass. The story about how he put out thousands of picks.
Yeah. There's going to be a cool effect.
Everybody came and stole all his picks and crazy. And
then at the part at the end where they had the jam and he made sure that Eric's was on 11 so you could hear him over everybody else.
Yeah, smart, man. I mean, just great stories. And that's why we do the show, to kind of capture some of these great stories. I'm trying to think of a bigger cultural event in our lives and a positive one. I mean, obviously 9/11 changed our lives huge, but that's not positive. Even the concert for New York wasn't that. I mean, they got a lot of talent, but it wasn't that great of a show, if you ask me. And Eric was there for that, of course. And so was Lee. But I was trying to think of positive cultural events in our lifetime that were bigger than that, and I was struggling.
Yeah, I would say I would be in the same boat with you, because I just remember that lead up to it. They hyped it, and I just remember thinking, there's no way I can miss this. I can't, in good conscience, no, I didn't really see that. No, of course you wanted to see it. You wanted to see the bands. You wanted to see the spectacle. The whole thing about how it was going to be live on 2 continents was just, it was unprecedented. So, and everybody who was anybody of that generation, and then even kind of one baby generation before, or kind of 1.5, was going to be there. So it had to be experienced.
Yeah, and after Do They Know It's Christmas had run to #1 in late 1984, and then We Are the World came out shortly thereafter, and of course the great behind the scenes Greatest Night in Pop documentary. If you haven't seen that, we did a show on that because it was just so good, and you gotta love what Lionel did there. All that kind of culminating in that day, unbelievable. And we've had several guests on who played that, and then we had a couple on who were there. I guess we ended up having 6 guests who were there that day. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's right. So huge deal. Great memory in my mind, and it's all for a good cause. So yeah, that was Live Aid at 40. And there's apparently a really cool CNN thing. I mean, Alan talked about it when he was on our show. There's like a CNN documentary on it. If you have HBO, I think you can see that now on demand. So maybe if I get a little break over the holidays, I can squeeze in those episodes here. We'll see. But anyway, back to the actual live shows. The next one that I went to was the Black Crowes. Now, the Black Crowes are a hell of a live band, dude. And I didn't like the Black Crowes, as I mentioned on the show. Growing up in high school and college, these guys are being forced down my throat. It's like they were anointed by Rolling Stone and the industry, these are the next guys. You have to like these guys. And A, I don't like it when people shove something down my throat. And then B, Chris Robinson's an asshole. I don't want to deal with his nonsense. But then when I saw them open for the Dead in 95 on one of Jerry Garcia's last 35 shows or whatever it was, I was like, oh, okay, well, now I get it. Live, they are the real deal. They're the goods.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen them since 1995. So when they're coming to the Palace Theater in Louisville, which is where these last 3 shows were, I'm like, yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll check them out. I don't have to travel. I'll just, I go downtown, I go to the show, I come home. And I was delighted by how good they were. Still got it, even after all these years. And it's really just Chris and Rich from the first time I saw them. But the band is tight. They know their rock and roll. They know their blues, soul. They get it. And I mean, Chris Robinson is kind of a force of nature. He kind of just can't stop moving and singing. And even at this age, man, he's kind of the real deal for a scrawny white boy,
Well, and you were talking about before, who's going to take over when these other guys pass away or, decide they can't do it anymore. I mean, that they've got to have a pretty strong contention for that, because if they can still play, they're getting along now, which is fabulous, and they didn't for quite some time.
That's right.
To see them play live, yeah, it changed my perception as well. I think I saw them in the late 90s, maybe 99 or something, and it was the same thing. I'm like, screw these guys. They're stupid. Well, all right. If you want to go, let's go. And hey, wait a minute. This is a really good show. The band is super tight. Everybody sounds good. The whole thing is rocking. I'm glad that you had a positive experience. I'm glad they still sound great. And I'm glad that they're getting along, because they, like Oasis, are better together than apart.
That's right. Yeah. And obviously we didn't see Oasis. Crazily, we didn't see Oasis. But then for the money and the last second nature of it, we weren't going to.
I would really like to know I don't know, who knows, maybe they're assholes and they would say yes. But I mean, from the two of the Gallagher brothers, like, I know people have been asking for this for a long time. I know every time you had an interview with Oasis, when are you coming back? But did you really expect this to blow up that big? Crazy.
I would like Noel's opinion. I don't care about Liam's opinion. Of course I fucking knew it'd be fucking number one in fucking world.
I mean? Greatest band in the world, you know what I mean?
But Noel would have some perspective as an adult, and so I would like to hear that.
And even here in the United States, it was big. They sold out quick, the shows that they had. Now, granted, they didn't do as many.
They didn't do as many,
but
that's
still.
right. But yeah, and so my wonder is, will they do it again? Will they do it again next year? Will they wait 3 years and do it again? Because they minted money.
I was going to say, for the amount of money that they printed, it would be hard to say no to that again. I mean, there are people who saw it who would probably see it again, and there are people like us who missed who would definitely try again. So I hope the answer is they'll do it again.
Well, I mean, I think what prompted it, honestly, was that Noel got divorced. He's like, okay, well, you're going to take some money. I know how I can get that money back real quick. Hey, boy. Hey, bro. Yeah, you want to get together and tour? Yeah, good.
Next week, let's go.
So, and that's a good point. We're talking about a show we didn't go to, but we go to shows and we don't always review them. Like I said, I took my daughter to see Ace Frehley. I didn't review it because, we kind of knew what to expect, and then we got exactly what we expected. I went to a Brit Floyd show where they did, Wish You Were Here and that stuff. Really cool show. I highly recommend it. I think they're coming back next year, but we didn't review it on the show. And sometimes we go to smaller shows that we just don't do on the show. Plus, between obligations we have to do interviews with artists, and we always try to line up our album reviews ahead of their anniversaries, whether it's the 40th or 50th or whatever, it just doesn't always fit into the show schedule.
Right.
And so we don't always do everything that we see or participate in on the show. And so there are a couple there. But one that I was really glad, and I saw Ace and the Black Crowes, I think within a week of each other. But I decided that the Black Crowes show was worth reviewing because it was really cool. But one show that, for a band I obviously hadn't seen before, Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening, doing Physical Graffiti in its entirety to celebrate it at 50. I couldn't recommend this enough. I mean, not knowing exactly what to expect, that was probably, it's hard for me to say it was the best show of the year because I saw Iron Maiden twice. And I was in the owner's box for Metallica, so it's hard to say that was the best. But as far as not knowing what to expect and coming out on the other side very, very happy about it, it was kind of the best experience in that I wasn't sure what to expect, and then I got more than I bargained for.
And it sounded to me like, well, I know you were on the fence about what this was going to be and how excited you were going to be there. But unlike Brit Floyd, yes, this is technically a tribute. I get it. There wasn't anybody from the original band in this show, but you've got Jason, who, by his own admission, you said that he straight up said, I have nothing to do with Led Zeppelin. I'm a fan just like you guys.
Yeah.
But he does have that direct connection. And then you have the person,
Mr. Jimmy.
Yeah, who's kind of doing his own thing. Like you said on our review, better to, make it on your own or fail on your own than make it as somebody else or pretending to be somebody else. But that guy's on a whole nother level. That guy he's just perfected the art of being Jimmy Page.
That's right. And they didn't do it in order. They did the first two songs in order. And then they jumped around and built it up. So you finish with Kashmir. Smart.
Yeah.
And they had an acoustic set in the middle, which is something that Zeppelin would do. So I'm like, that is really cool. Jason is very comfortable in front of the audience. He's comfortable sharing stories about his father, which we're all desperate for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it was just fun. It was a good time. So if they come back next year or, someplace where I'm going to be, I wouldn't miss this again. And he's not quite 60. I think he was talking about how he's 59. So he can still do this. They've been doing it for like 15 years or 17 years or something like that. He could do this longer, and I would go see that again. In fact, if he came every year for the next 5 years, I would go see it every year.
Well, then definitely we'll have to watch the tour schedule to see what's happening, because, I'd like to check that out as well.
Oh, yeah. And then the last one here actually, as we're recording this, it's our show that is still our newest show live right now is Yes Live. And obviously we knew Yes growing up, and 90125 was big in our lives as 10-year-olds, but going back on this prog journey that I've been dragging you on for almost 10 years now, certainly for like 6, going back and exploring all that old Yes. And we always loved Steve Howe, but to really go back and listen to all that stuff and get familiar with it is great. And then to find they've got this guy who's our age, John Davidson, who's an amazing singer for Yes. And they go back and do all these great songs. And they're still making new music. I bet we get some new Yes music in 2026.
That would not surprise me.
No. They're definitely touring England, I think, in the spring of 2026. And then I would bet, especially if they do a new album, that they would come back to America in the fall. And then, if they came to town, I would see them again, because they had the cool screen. It's not quite like Iron Maiden's, but they have the Roger Dean artwork coming to life and moving, and you can see the different animals, and it really adds something to the show. The band is super duper tight. And if you like that music, you can find reasons to complain. Hey, John Anderson's not there. Rick Wakeman's not there. Chris Squire's dead. It's not Yes. Whatever. You want to find a reason not to go, you can find it. But I'll give you a reason to go. It's a heck of a good Yes show.
I'll give you a reason to cry.
Exactly. So again, I would absolutely go see them again. I know it's not the same as
but it's as close as you're going to get now. You're never going to have a big Yes reunion. I don't think. I mean, like you said, Chris Squire is passed. I don't think there's any way on the face of the earth that John Anderson and Steve Howe will work together again. There's just too much. Never. And I mean, honestly, no offense to John Anderson, but he can't sing like he used to.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's like, we're going to have to tune down. And Steve Howe's like, nope, we are not going to have to tune down.
Davidson does not have to tune down.
Yeah. So, sorry, John. Plus, he's a little Napoleon. They don't want him around anyway.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So those are the live acts. And yes, we have already lined up some live acts for next year, and looking forward to who else might be a possibility, like the Foo Fighters. And I saw they were going to Tasmania, the little island south of Australia. I'm like, wow, you really will tour anywhere, dude. That's impressive.
Well, you got to wonder about something like that. Is that really, we've got so many fans in Ted, or you're like, well, what the hell? Let's just go and see what happens because I've always wanted to be there. I don't know.
Well, my guess is most of the people there are from Australia or maybe New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because both those places are in the middle of nowhere, and then Tasmania is even more in the middle of nowhere.
Hi, this is Steve Howe of Yes, and you're listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
But the interviews we had this year, maybe didn't have as many as we did the last couple of years, but the people we did have, it's not like we didn't want them on. It's not like they were forced on us or like, oh, I guess we'll interview this person.
Yeah.
We tracked them down, and it was great. First, of course, Brian Slagel, the founder and CEO of Metal Blade Records, the man who was the first to put a Metallica song, Hit the Lights, on a tape for distribution, helped them get their record deal. What a cool guy. Articulate, generous with his time and spirit, and started out a guy just like us when he went to his first Kiss show, which was the Alive 2 tour, I think, or
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Or was it the Destroyer tour? No, I think it was Live 2. Anyway, saw it, fell in love, and then got into the business. He's got a great show with the 100 songs that define heavy metal, and he gets super guests on because those are his friends. Like, they're our heroes, but they're his buddies.
Yeah, and like you said, just a really down-to-earth kind of humble dude. I'd love to go see that museum he's got in Las Vegas, the Metal Blade stuff, because, it's all that stuff that he's collected over the years.
Yeah.
And I thought I saw something, too, where he's got a giant collection of hockey jerseys, too. Like he's just he's like, yeah, I was a collector. I think he was buying them originally for like $5 off eBay because that wasn't a super huge
market,
collectible yet. Now he's got a ton of them. Yeah, just a really nice guy who I mean, like I said, is personal friends with the guys from Metallica. Like they know him by name.
Oh,
he helped launch them. He helped, and he still has that love for what's bands that are never really going to make it huge because their music is very niche, I guess.
Right. Yeah,
but
over the top heavy metal.
Correct. Yeah. But he still advocates for them. Make sure that their music is out there so that people can listen to it who want to enjoy it.
And he agreed to come back, and he talked about how he was at all 4 Long Beach shows for Live After Death with Maiden and
yeah,
the Hammersmith shows that they used for it. Like, if you weren't in the band or working for the band, who else could say that?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anybody. And just that, like, the way that he was talking about it too, not like, yeah, I did that, whatever. Like, he can't believe it either. Like,
yeah.
So cool guy.
Super great guy. Yeah. A lot of respect for him for what he's done and continued to do this for decades now, and brought the music that we love to life and given bands an opportunity to go out and earn a living and spread their music.
Hey, it's Brian Slagel. I'm the CEO of Metal Blade Records, and you're listening to the Ugly American Werewolf in London.
Thank you, Brian, for being on. The biggest I'd have to say is Alan Hunter. I've been trying to work out an idea to have him on for a long time, and finally I approached him. And he's like, yeah, sure. Sounds good, guys. Let's do it.
Couldn't believe that. When you told me that.
Other MTV VJs who won't get back to you unless you dangle money in front of them, who shall remain nameless. Not going to tell you who it is, but there's only 5 of them. Only 4 of them are alive. And it's obviously not Alan. I'll let you piece that together. So.
Super cool guy to talk to. I couldn't believe that because I guess you emailed him and he was like, yeah, sounds great. Not like, yeah, I'll get back to you whenever. Just I think he was genuinely excited to talk about that day, and not like, yeah, I was there and, I'm cooler than everybody else. Like, just, I can't believe that this happened. I can't believe that I got to be part of it.
Yeah. And talking about the Led Zeppelin debacle of an interview, like the worst thing ever, and they're obviously wasted. And what's he supposed to do in that situation? You have to ask certain questions. Robert's like, oh yeah, well look, I got a solo tour I play in 2 days. So yeah, I'm out of here. Whatever this was. And Jimmy's loaded, and JPJ's his normal kind of quiet self.
Right. Phil Collins is desperately trying to fill in the blank spots. Like, okay, boys, we got to say something here.
Right. I know. And it's very easy to say, well, Phil Collins is the one who screwed it up. No, Jimmy. No. Take some responsibility.
Right.
Hey, this is Alan Hunter, original MTV VJ, now on Sirius XM, and you are listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
And also on that show, Lee Dixon, longtime Clapton guitar tech who was a friend of our show, he talked about how Jimmy's guitar tech tuned the double neck and then stuck it back in the box when it's 95 degrees. So when it comes out, it's out of tune. You can't, you got to tune it like right up until the moment, man. And the general consensus around the world is that Jimmy's guitar was out of tune. Well, that's why. Now we know why. Crazy. But Lee also gave us a little walkthrough on Clapton's Behind the Sun, which is, and this is the only time we've ever done this. We did that review early in 2025. And then in July, kind of around the time of those Live Aid shows, you know how I said we put part 3 on the 13th, so it'd be exactly on the anniversary. We still had to do a show on the 17th. So we took an interview with him about that time doing Behind the Sun, working with Duck Dunn, working with all the other folks, working in the Caribbean, and then in LA with all those Toto guys like Lukather and all the people who played on, because they made some songs and the record company's like, I'm not feeling it. You need to come to LA and we'll get a songwriter. And just the stories he told from that time is really cool. So we kind of did a reboot from about 4 months before, where we added what he had to say into our review. So that was fun, and we appreciate Lee, and I certainly hope there's opportunities to work with him in the years to come.
Absolutely. He's in just the matter-of-fact way that he talks about. We look at all of that stuff as fans, and I think he has fond memories of it, but especially the Live Aid stuff, that was a lot of work. Like
Yeah.
he was humping it all day there, trying to make sure that everything was ready. The things were where they were supposed to be. No one stole the equipment.
Right.
Like that was one thing we touched on. Like, could you imagine somebody's like, oh, that's Eric Clapton's guitar right there. No one's looking. Yoink. You can't have any of that. You've got to make sure that everything is ready. Like you're talking about Jimmy Page's guitar, and yeah, you should have, you shouldn't have left it there. You probably should have tuned it. But the chaos that was that day,
Yeah.
who even knows? Just trying to get people on and off, and trying to, interview people on the Alan Hunter side who maybe, they're caught up in the moment too of being here, and then you're
Right.
trying to ask them questions, and how that whole thing came together and operated, that's beyond me.
Yeah. Well, poor Alan. I mean, he's like, his producers in his ear, ask David Crosby about the drugs.
Yeah.
So you had a drug bust, right? Oh, Alan, you had
Come
to go
on.
there. It's like, I
Yeah.
didn't want to
Son
ask
of
him
a
that.
bitch.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can read that. Who cares? But I mean, I'm just, I felt bad for Lee because he ordered 2,000 red Eric Clapton picks in 2 huge bags. Right?
Correct.
1,000 he put on the stage, so when it turned around, it looked like there were rose petals all over it, and all those greedy little roadies and people on the stage just grabbed every single one of them. He had a second bag of them. He set it down, turned around for 2 minutes, and when he turned around, it was gone.
Right.
Where did that go? Like, I haven't seen him on eBay. It's like, where do you still have this bag of 1,000 picks somewhere? Did the person who stole it then lose it? Like, where is it? I would love to track that down.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Who took it? Why'd you? Well, I understand why you might have taken it, but did you then sell them individually? Did you sell them in packs of 10? What the hell?
That really sucked because in his mind, it was going to be a really cool effect.
Yeah.
To have the stage turn, to have all these pigs, okay, and to have these little jokers just run up, and just grab them. Come on, guys.
All of them.
Yeah.
Craziness. But yeah, Lee's a good dude, and we will have him back on one day. And now the next one, not a musician, but someone who's had a huge influence on the way that we consume music, on the way that we interact with it, especially with one of our favorite bands, Rush. And that's Hugh Syme, the designer of over 100 album sleeves over the years, a Canadian who now lives in Indy and is still working. And he dropped a little nugget on us that there is going to be Grace Under Pressure 40 coming out here at some point in 2026. Wow. Cool guy, incredibly talented, humble, but smart. And I'm so glad that we got to talk with him and just learn a little bit about some of the covers that he worked on. Obviously, the kind of draw was Caress of Steel at 50, which was his first with Rush. And he's never not done a Rush cover since. I mean, nothing, not a DVD, not a tour program, not a single, everything is Hugh Syme from Rush from 1975 on.
And for us, that's a big deal of like kind of tying things to a catalog together. You've got him, you've got for a long time, Derek Riggs did the Iron Maiden stuff,
Right.
Roger Dean with Yes, and then into Asia. Cool guy to talk to. I like the story about how he was at one of the shows and somebody recognized him and he just went, this could be bad. But then guys running up to him and showing him how his artwork is now tattooed on them forever.
Right.
That was, I know that he got that feeling of not like, well, of course you did. It was like, oh my goodness, you did that.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad that connected you in a way that you wanted to have that on forever, not just on a t-shirt, but actually on your body. And one of the dudes was like, the Caress of Steel is maybe not everybody's favorite record or favorite album cover. Some dude's got it on his chest.
Yep.
Coast to coast.
For somebody it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Yeah, if that's the one, sure. But then if you were that dude and you realized that it was originally like silver, and it was like pencil graphite, it was supposed to be silver, and then the printer just kind of decided they're going to do this sepia thing. Are you pissed you didn't get the original on there?
I would be, because I always thought that was weird. Caress of Steel. Steel is like a silvery color, not gold. Why would you do that? Well, you did it because it got screwed up. That's why.
That's right, because the printer screwed you over. Yeah. Wasn't Hugh's design. He's like, no, I got the originals on the wall down the hall.
Right.
I was like, yeah, I bet that's worth something. I mean, that's unbelievable. So thank you, Hugh, so much for coming on, and the Music Buzz podcast with 3 Z's. And they have fantastic guests on as well.
Hi, this is Hugh Syme. You're listening to the Ugly American Werewolf in London podcast. And I'm absolutely privileged to be here talking with the Wolf and Action Jackson.
And then we kind of had a double dose here not too long ago on First Concert Memories. One's an old friend of mine, and one is a legend who I never thought we would actually meet, but I'm pretty psyched about it. Scarlet, Rivera, and Stu Allen. Must have been a little bit of a surprise for you. I know you're not a Dylan fan and have never really had a Dylan phase as far as I know, Jackson.
Not really. I mean, I appreciate him for what he did. I know that he was a big deal. He was a big cultural person back in that tumultuous time of the 60s and into the 70s. And, he's been around forever. I think one of my favorite things about him, his claim to fame, is that he did date Raquel Welch for a while in the 80s, and that must have been pretty awesome. But yeah, no, not really. I can appreciate him for being a musician, but I kind of stayed away from him listening to his music, not for any reason other than the fact that it's not really my jam. I did get to see him once live, and that was underwhelming because he just seemed like he was bothered to be there. But learning about this show and watching the documentary, I kind of got more of a feeling that maybe I understand where he's coming from a little bit, because it seems like everybody wants something from him. It's like, are you friendly with me because you like me as a person, or because I can do something for you?
Right.
And being around me will help you out. So I kind of get that. It was cool to learn about that. It was cool to talk to your buddy Stu, who apparently is a giant deal in the West Coast jam band world. I mean, he's huge. Everybody, like on the Slack message board, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I know Stu. He's huge. I've seen him play a couple times. He's great. Everybody knows him from the Dead family." So yeah, a big deal. And then to talk to Scarlet, who was directly connected. That was really cool. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like, Stu is our age, so he's a fan. He can play the music. He can appreciate it. But she was actually there. That
creating
was awesome.
it. Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're talking about the Rolling Thunder Review, which was 75. Look, for a long time, 66, mid-60s, something like that, to about 74-ish. Dylan didn't tour much. He didn't play America at all. He had done kind of a tour with the band in 74. I don't know if the band needed money or they were kind of trying to wrap up their own run. The last waltz was just a few years after that, I feel like. But he kind of went out and did a tour with the band, big tour, arena tour. I think Before the Flood, the live album, was the product of that tour. And then he was kind of motivated to go do something. And so he decided to gather up a lot of different people, do this Rolling Thunder Review tour. And yeah, when he was in the Village, he saw this enchanting, striking, tall woman with a violin case crossing the street. So he stopped, he had the car stop. He's like, hey, come here, talk to me. Talked to her, found out her name's Scarlet, said, okay, yeah, why don't you come with me? And came down to jam with some of his boys as he was kind of getting ready to do this tour. I said, okay, you're going to come with me. And if you watch the movie, the Rolling Thunder Review thing, she is enchanting. She is captivating. I couldn't take my eyes off of her because she is lovely. She usually had some kind of face paint makeup on, and she's always standing next to Bob on stage. And she plays this haunting violin, especially on Hurricane, which is an incredible song. And they showed going to the record companies, so, okay, we got to get this released, get it out on the streets, get the people to hear it, help get this man out of jail. They showed going to see Rubin in prison and playing at the prison and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it's just something you don't see much. And it was a strange little tour. They played like a mahjong parlor, and they played a basketball gym at a Native American reservation kind of thing. And just, and the tour lost a ton of money because he didn't play arenas. I mean, maybe he played MSG one night, but he played all these tiny little things. So yeah, I'm sure if you're the promoter or the manager, tour manager, you took a bath. But as far as getting all these folks together, bringing them to make this incredible sound, Mick Ronson, Holy Mackerel was just a tiny little piece of it. It was an interesting time, and it's something you probably couldn't do today. And if you did, they just charge you through the nose, and they would do huge shows. And so it's something you can get away with. Yes. And then my buddy Stu, he is a real talent, very respected in that jam band community, earns a good living doing something that he loves without being in an office and without having to cut his hair or shave his face every day like some of the rest of us. So Not me, of course, but some of the rest of us. And I've been wanting to talk to Stu for a long time. He was in Mars Hotel. He played with Phil Lesh of the Grateful Dead for a while. And hopefully we can get him to come on and tell some Phil stories here before too long.
That would be great. I'd like to get his take on just the Grateful Dead in general, or maybe pick an album or something, because that's one thing that's always been a conundrum to me. I know a lot of people who are diehard Grateful Dead fans. They will listen to everything. They would go to the shows back in the day. They still go to shows now, and it's something that I never got into. But I feel like talking to somebody about it who's really into it will give me a better perspective. And back to Scarlet really quickly, it seemed like watching that movie, every single other person in that band, up to and including Mick Ronson, were playing with Dylan, or they were playing behind him. Whatever he would do, they would adapt to. But he was locked into her the entire time, and they were playing together, or kind of playing off of each other. She wasn't following him. He was following her. So very cool to see, very cool to talk to her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear the show was good. There's no video of it that I can find yet anyway. So if anyone was at Mill Valley on November 6th and caught any of that or has any video, hey, send it our way. We would love to hear a little bit of it, see a little bit of it. I'm sure it was a lot of fun.
Hi, I am Scarlet Rivera. Now you're listening to the Ugly American Werewolf in London.
But that's another wrap on another year there, Jackson. That's year 5 is in the books. We are now technically in the early stages of year 6. Crazy. What do you think about that?
I really can't. When I don't know when you first brought that up. It wasn't that long ago. Like, oh yeah, can you believe it's been 5 years? No, I can't. Unbelievable. The amount of stuff that we've gotten to do, the places that we've gone, the people that we've got to talk to. It's been amazing, and I can't wait for 2026 now.
Well, I am confident we're going to have a good 2026. I know that there's some great albums that are hitting some big anniversaries that we're going to want to talk about. I know that there's going to be some good live shows, and I'm hoping for more. And we're working on lining up some guests that will be a lot of fun. Some really great stories that we'll be able to share with them. So to all of our listeners out there, we just really want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for welcoming us into your lives, whether it's your commute, whether it's your walking your dog, whether it's your escape from the cruelness of life in the world, or maybe when you're traveling, spending a little time with us, sharing our love and knowledge such as it is of rock music and experience with these bands really means the world to us. It's something that we love. It's something that we can do a lot. And obviously we've done almost 300 total shows between Ugly American Werewolf and First Concert Memories. 300 shows almost in 5+ years. Couldn't still be doing it if there weren't people on the other end saying, yeah, we like this. We're going to keep listening to this. Or, hey, would you try to get this guy on? Or maybe you do this album review. Or, you guys suck. Whatever it is that you feel, we want to hear it.
If we could keep the "you suck" comments to a minimum, I understand there's probably some out there, but don't hurt my feelings.
Well, no, hey, look, we got pretty thick skin. I mean, can you be a little more critical than "you suck"? It's like you suck because do this instead. Like instead of just "you suck," we don't just say this song's awesome. Here it is. We try to give you a little background on what they were going through when they made it, what the lyrics might mean, what the legacy of the song is, not just, oh, I think this song's cool. Here, play.
Do you remember when you were in the Beatles? That was awesome.
I would love to ask Paul that question. I don't think that we're going to get to. So that's it. So Jackson, hey, thanks for continuing to do this with me.
No problem.
Wouldn't want to do it with anyone else.
Yes, no, it's fun. It's something I still look forward to all the time. What's coming up next? What can we do? When you drop we get to talk to this person, even stuff that wouldn't seem like that, something that I was excited about, like, no offense, but the Bay City Rollers. Mm-hmm. It still turns out to be a great story. We still get to talk to interesting people. It's fantastic. So thank you for dragging me along here.
You bet. Yeah, wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. And I think 2026 is going to be a great year for the Wolf here in Action Jackson. So happy holidays, all the best, and we'll see you in 2026, folks. I'd like to offer up one more in memoriam. It's actually not a death, but the end of a band, October Drift, a young band from England, and we had their lead singer and songwriter Kieran Roy on the show and talk about their last album, and I think I really missed out on what a live act they were. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy at those shows. I guess they got to the point in life where if they hadn't made it big enough, they were going to have to try something else. So Godspeed, guys. Kieran, thanks for coming on the show. Hopefully you guys will keep making music in some way, and who knows, we might see them down the road in one form or another. But sad as it is to say goodbye to all those artists, all those legends that our world would not be the same without, we don't really have to say goodbye because we've still got the music. And obviously our show does well, even though we talk about stuff that came out 40, 50, or more years ago. The music is what lives on. So we may mourn their passing, but the great thing is we can celebrate their lives every single day of ours. And that's a big part of why we love music here on The Wolf. So from the bottom of our hearts, from me and Jackson to you, thank you. Thank you for letting us be part of your lives. Thank you for interacting with us. Thank you for keeping this rock alive. If the record companies don't want to do it, we're going to have to do it. And obviously, looking at attendance at live shows, rock and roll is big time still makes money. Maybe they can figure out how to get artists in the studio and help them make money so we can get the next generation of rock and roll up and healthy. Otherwise, we're going to do in memoriam to seeing live rock and roll. And that would be a sad day. But we've got hope, and we're looking forward to 2026. We've already got some great guests lined up. We've got some killer albums that we can't wait to talk about, having big anniversaries. We're going to see some great live shows, and we're looking forward to some surprises. I think 2026 is going to be a great year for live music, good year for rock, great year for the Wolf, and we hope it's great for all of you as well. So only the best to you and yours in this holiday season, and all the best for a prosperous, happy, and healthy 2026. You want to give us a holiday gift, guys? Go out and give us a 5-star review. It means the world to us. You can't imagine how it feels to have someone take time out of their life to say something positive about something you did. So do that on Spotify, do that on Apple, do that wherever you like. And please keep downloading. Please keep listening. As long as you want to hear it, we're going to keep doing it. Thank you to Pantheon Podcast for making us part of their family. And remember, we've got an amazing sponsor, rarevinyl.com, guys. Use the code UGLY. You can save 10% off one entire order of goodies. And you collectors can spend some money. Spend $1,000, get $100 off. That's it for 2025. Peace and love be unto you. So until next time, to all you rockers all around the world, be cool and keep doing what you do to keep rock alive.